Cape Town is so popular because it has everything. Phenomenal mountains, we got them. Phenomenal beaches, we got them. Phenomenal party scene and tourism industry and food. Cape Town has all of it. Well, at least Cape Town International does. If you have enough money, that Cape Town International is gorgeous. And part of the reason why Cape Town is so popular is those world famous beaches. But if you live in Cape Town, you will hear a story of somebody saying that they got sick and they're pretty sure it's because they swam in the water in Cape Town. Unlike Durban, Cape Town has always had a reputation for safe water, blue flag beaches. But Cape Town, just like Durban and every other coastal city ever built, does dump a lot of its sewage into the ocean. Cape Town has its own sewage plants, and they're pretty old. And that's becoming a serious problem. There is a massive scandal brewing right now, a huge fight between academics, scientists, the city of Cape Town over whether or not the seawater at Cape Town's beaches is safe. So this is the issue with Cape Town's water quality. You're watching The Issue with Dan Corder, South Africa's movie. Welcome to the watch party. The city of Cape Town has consistently insisted that their sewage systems are fine, even though the sewage plants are now very old. Then, about a week ago, bombshell report. A citizen action group called Project Blue announced that they had gone and taken samples of seawater across about a month in November and December last year and sent them to 2 different scientific labs for testing. They took limited samples, but samples from some places that it's unsurprising if the water is a little bit dangerous because they come out of polluted river mouths or places where there's extreme and significant water runoff that carries detritus in it when it rains. But they also took seawater samples from some of the really famous places, like the iconic Camps Bay Beach. And the results are very, very, very shocking. Sample after sample was found to have dangerous, potentially harmful quantities of bacteria in the water that suggested fecal matter in the water. Yes, poo in the water, making the water unsafe. Human excrement. The 2 kinds of bacteria that they found were E. coli, and the second one was enterococci, I think it is. But basically, what's important is not how to pronounce it, enterococci. It sounds like an Italian football player. What's important is to understand that these samples had the presence of alarmingly above safety rates, because there's a safety level below which humans will be fine in water with that kind of bacteria. In one sample, from Camps Bay Beach seawater, 10 times the permitted safe amount of E. coli was found in that sample. Incredibly alarming set of results. So, what has been the response from the city of Cape Town and the ruling political party here, the Democratic Alliance? It has been absolute backlash, criticism and undermining of the research group, calling into question their research methods, trying to besmirch them in public, and also seemingly trying to shut down and silence any dissent or criticism in private. But we'll get to that in a second. The first thing that the spokespeople said from the city of Cape Town was these findings can't be trusted because the samples were sent to labs that were not scientific regulatory body approved. They weren't reliable, legitimate, scientifically approved labs. To which Project Blue and Daily Maverick said, actually no, both of these scientific labs have got scientific regulatory approval for their good work in testing sample sets. But more than that, one of the 2 labs has been used by the city of Cape Town itself in its own testing of its own water. And apparently Project Blue, the citizen group, did that on purpose so that the city of Cape Town couldn't just say, screw them in their labs, they're not legit. And then an article came out from a very respected and influential journalist called Rebecca Davis, who works at Daily Maverick. And she wrote this piece about how in private, an extremely targeted, aggressive, intimidating, bullying machine of City of Cape Town and Democratic Alliance officials had been trying to silence dissent, criticize, undermine journalists. What she essentially said in this piece, Rebecca Davis, was that the DA, and because of the DA, the City of Cape Town, has got this very slick PR machine that activates in the face of any criticism or undermining or questioning of them from anyone in the public, rival political parties, but also journalists. And this was happening around these research findings. But then she also said that what this machine does is privately bombs journalists with emails, threatens them, sends emails CCing like a dozen officials who are all climbing on, trying to intimidate and harangue the journalist and the media house into dropping the story that they have presented and not investigating it further. And Rebecca Davis said that she was completely stunned when News 24, the biggest media public, or the most read media publication in South Africa, retracted a cartoon and issued an apology, because the cartoon depicted DA leader John Steenhuisen with blue lights on his car. Now, if you're not from South Africa, or if you haven't been paying attention, you may have missed the fact that blue lights are a privilege given to politicians, and the DA has been steadfastly against that practice. But now that they have ministers, because they're in the government, the fact that Steenhuisen's cars still have blue lights, whether he uses them or not, smacks of significant hypocrisy. And political parties had called it out. Now, not to go too deep into that story, but because that is the story, it seems like obviously fair game for a satirical cartoon to be drawn with Steenhuisen with blue lights. Obviously, everybody understands that cartoons are satire that use visual cues and symbols to create and lead a reflection to comment on a big current affairs story. But according to Rebecca Davis, the DA had been livid with this, climbed all over News 24 publicly and privately, and somehow managed to bully News 24 into retracting the cartoon on the grounds that it was like factually inaccurate and therefore somehow, lying and pushing falsehoods about the DA leader. And so the second part of this massive scandal has been Rebecca Davis showing us a little bit behind the scenes of how hectic it is to take on the DA and the City of Cape Town machine. But of course they will do this on the water issue, because this kind of story, if it is true, has enormous consequences for the City of Cape Town's public reputation, which means it could be incredibly harmful to the massive world-famous tourism industry in Cape Town that causes so much of Cape Town's success, provides so many of its jobs, makes so much of the city's money, and is a huge claim to fame for the Democratic Alliance. Look, I don't think it's justified to undercut or try to undermine or discredit legitimate research, but you can to a degree understand that if the DA and the City of Cape Town really believes that the research is nonsense, that they go into a defense mode to try and limit the damage. Because remember, Cape Town in recent years has seen what happens when a massive story about your city goes platinum viral around the world and how it damages your local tourism industry, where the City of Cape Town nearly became the first city in modern human history to run out of water. It nearly went to day 0, and that had a massive long-standing damage to its reputation. And so imagine if this research is wrong or is misplaced, or with further testing finds out, it turns out there maybe are outliers, that the research was all outliers and not the standard level of water safety. You can imagine if that story goes around the world and it's not true, how unfortunate and damaging this would be to Cape Town's reputation and the tourism industry within Cape Town. But at the same time, we need to find out if it's true or not. We need to find out who's right and who's wrong, and what is the seawater safety and cleanliness level. Because if Project Blue is right, then people in Cape Town are being exposed to extremely dangerous levels of fecal matter and related bacteria that can make them really sick and be a threat to life. And if that is the case, then the response from the City of Cape Town and the DA can't be, screw you, look at the harm that you're doing to our city, how dare you do this to us, and how dare you bring this negative scrutiny upon us. The response should be, oh my word, crisis moment, we need to fix this with radical, expensive interventions to fix our sewage treatment plants and so that we can again be able to guarantee that the water is safe. So that's the massive scandal right now, and we'll wait to see what happens. This has been the issue with Cape Town's seawater quality and safety. Thank you so much for watching.